With the price of beef these days, I have taken to buying whole roasts and cutting them down into individual steaks. So if you'd like to learn how to cut a beef tenderloin roast down into individual filet mignons, please stick around and I'll show you how. It's very easy, it's very empowering, and it doesn't take long at all. What I use when I break down a roast is a giant cutting board. I also use a couple of different knives. It just depends on what I need and what I'm in the mood of using. I use a smaller one. I don't have an actual knife yet, but specifically for like getting the silver skin off, I use my fingers for a lot of that too. But there is like a special kind of knife that I do want to get and become adept at that. But it's not necessary. I've been using these for a couple of years actually. Another tool that I use is I always sharpen my knives before I go to cut a roast, or a roast into pieces. I sharpen my knives about once a week usually, but I always make sure to do it right before I cut the roast so I can have a sharp knife. And then of course a digital scale because I like to know how much my servings are. And then when I'm done cutting everything up, I vacuum seal, and these are cheaper. You buy a whole big long roll, but then you have to seal both ends, which isn't a big deal. These were the first ones that I bought, but since then I now use the individual bag size. But I've got this roll that I need to finish up first, so I'll be using that today. So let's go get started cutting up this stuff into delicious steaks.
Before I begin, I place a wet paper towel under the cutting board to prevent slippage. Here, I sharpen my knives. I follow the instructions that came with the sharpener, and I have a handy little chain that allows me to hang it on my knives for storage. I always know where it is. I then take a damp rag to wipe off any residue from the blades. They were both about the same size, not quite 6 pounds. I take it over to the sink and I cut open the wide end and slide it out from the bag there. Stellar video, sorry about cutting it off, but that's what I'm doing in the portion you can't see there. This way, the majority of the juices stay in the bag and it makes for easy cleanup. And I dry it off so that it's not slippery during preparation. You want to turn it over to dry the other side as well as your working surface. Now it's time to cut. We turn it over and first we'll remove the chain or tail. It's the long strip of section that is above the tenderloin there. You'll see it rips off easily. It's so fun to get in there and use my fingers. I try to use them as much as possible because it seems that less meat is wasted using my fingers. And there you have it, the chain is off. This is a really good piece of meat, y'all. The head section is easy to remove as well. So I inspect the head, looking again for any membranes or any silver skin to be removed. The silver skin is that flat, white, thicker piece there you see me tugging at. Definitely do not want to leave that on. It is very tough when you bite into it and can ruin the tenderloin. I'm going to be completely honest. The first couple of times I bought a tenderloin, I did not cut it down like this. I just sliced it up and thought, oh, this is going to be great. Wrong. It was not great at all. So I finally learned how to break it down and I could not be happier. Every steak now is tender and uniform and not chewy or tough from leaving bits on there that don't belong. This takes the most time, about 20 minutes total from start to finish for the entire tenderloin. So while it may seem tedious as you watch me here, I just wanted to show you the techniques that I use, scraping the extra meat off of these tendons, and again, getting in there really good with my fingers, trying to make it as uniform as possible. And now it's time to attack the tenderloin. This nice big fatty piece just comes right off, exposing the membrane and the silver skin underneath. You can see how some of them come off in big strips and others you have to work a little bit harder. Here's a big section of silver skin. It's so satisfying to strip this down and pull it off like that. It's definitely starting to take the shape of a tenderloin roast now. And there we have them, the three distinct parts of a beef tenderloin roast. If this was going to be served for guests, then I would cut off that fat there on the back, but since it's for me, I'm going to keep it. Here I am slicing them into individual servings, and I will be taking apart the chain here. This is what I was talking about earlier. So even though it looks like it's just a big mass of silver skin and tendons and whatnot, underneath you'll see it. Oh my goodness, this is one of the most tender parts of a beef tenderloin. Ta-da! That's a nice piece of meat, definitely worth the effort. I like to get every scrap of meat that I can. So I go through the chain thoroughly and I will save most of it and I grind it just to add to burgers or to use for fat in the pan. Hey, there was one little piece there. Yep, there it is. Now that they're all cut down, it's time to vacuum seal. I weigh them again and then write the date, the weight, and what type of meat is in the package. And those handy Benefect disinfectant wipes, oh my goodness, I use them between each touching of the meat to keep my working area clean. And then when I'm all done, it makes for easy cleanup of my work surface. The scale, the counter, and I'll even give the cutting board a quick wipe down before I wash it in the sink. All ready for the freezer.